Hello everyone and welcome back to My Fi Crusade. I'm your host, the FI Crusader, and today we're going to talk about something that's very important, and that is why you should not panic right now. So normally this is where I would tell you to subscribe to my channel and support me, but today's topic is a bit too important for that. So I'm going to get right into it. People are going crazy. People are losing their minds right now. Today, it's March 12th. We've had so far 3 cases of coronavirus in Connecticut where I live, and people are absolutely losing their minds over it. The thing that worries me about it is it's not just Connecticut, it's everywhere. Everybody is losing their minds over this disease. And while, yes, it's good to be vigilant, it's good to be alert and to be careful about how you interact with people, to be careful about washing your hands, making sure you don't touch your face and all that. It's gone beyond that now. People have watched so many disaster movies, they've watched so many post-apocalyptic world movies and TV shows like, well, I'm not going to name them, but you know the zombie flicks and TV shows that have been out there. People have seen so many of those that they are letting that inform their decision making. And it's absolutely insane. I went to the store today because I was running out of toilet paper, and the first 2 stores that I went to were completely out. Completely out. I went to the local drugstore, and the only reason they still had any is because they were enforcing strict limits. They were rationing people on how much they could buy. The person who was in front of me tried to buy more than 20 rolls of toilet paper, and they were told that they could only buy 10 at a time. And these are individual rolls. These were not packaged rolls of 10 rolls of toilet paper. They were individual rolls that they were just throwing onto the countertop because they wanted to get as much as they possibly could. The lady at the counter said to the person that they had a maximum that they were allowed to sell to any individual, and the reason for that is because other people need toilet paper too, which is a valid reason. This is not something that we're running out of, but we're going to. And it's not because of the disease. It's not because of that virus that's out there that everybody's scared of. It's because people are scared, and they've seen those TV shows and they are losing their minds. And so when people go into the store and they see that, oh, there's only 2 rolls of toilet paper left, or there's only two things of paper towels left, or I went to a Bullseye store, I'm not going to name it, but I went to a Bullseye store today, and there was absolutely no Tylenol or Advil left in the store. People had bought out the entire pharmacy. That's absolutely insane, and there's no reason for it. There's no shortage right now except for the one that we are making ourselves by panicking. And I know that a lot of people watch this channel because they want information about stocks and they want information about the retirement accounts. And the reason why I told you all of that is because it's not just there. That panic is happening on the stock market too. Today, the stock market was down another 2,300 points. It has dropped almost 30% since February 18th. And that's because people are panicking. So how does this affect your retirement? As I said, the stock market has dropped almost 30% in just the time since February 18th. That's a lot of lost money, not just for the people who own those companies, but also for the people who have money in the market, the people who have their 401ks in the market. And just like all of the other stuff, I'm someone who is going to say, stop panicking. It makes absolutely no sense. It doesn't make sense to go panic and buy all the toilet paper in whatever your grocery store is. It doesn't make sense to go out and buy up all the bottled water because that stuff is still going to be there. The only shortage we're going to have there is in the shortages that are created because you bought everything before they could replenish their stores. So you're artificially creating that, and at the same time, we're artificially creating this stock market crash. Now, people were worried before this whole coronavirus showed up We were worried about there being a potential recession coming up, and the reason for that is we are 11 years into this bull market in the stock market. This is the longest period that the stock market has ever held on to a bull run. It was only a matter of time. Manufacturing had been slowing for months now, both in and outside of the U.S. Jobs were contracting in the manufacturing sector here in the U.S. for a while. There was a lot of talk. You can remember it. At the end of last year, people were talking about it. They were talking about how in a couple of months or by the end of 2020, there was going to be a recession. Well, now there probably will be, but it's artificial. So let's look at why it's not the end of the world if we're in a bear market. First of all, what is a bear market? Well, stock markets have cycles. Bull market is a continual run-up where the stock market keeps increasing over time, and those are the things that you really want to see because that's where you're making your money. That can't go on forever. It's not sustainable for the stock market to just keep increasing and increasing and increasing and increasing. There's got to be some sort of drop back. Usually that happens in smaller increments, like 5% here, 5% there. When the stock market drops 10%, that's considered what's called a correction. When the stock market drops 20% off of its high, that's called a bear market. And that's where we are right now. As of yesterday, March 11th, we hit that 20% threshold and we entered a bear market. And with today dropping us another 2,300 points, we are well into that bear market. So let's look at what that looks like. What is a bear market and how does it function? What is the history of the bear market and what can we expect? Contrary to what most people would think, corrections are actually a healthy and fairly common occurrence within bull markets. Since 1945, there have been 23 corrections to the stock market. And of those 23, only 12 of them turned into bear markets. Now, the reason that people are panicking right now is because the last time that we actually had a bear market was the Great Recession. It started in October of 2007, and it lasted until March of 2009. And during that time period, the S&P 500 index dropped 56.8%. It lasted 17 months and it triggered a huge crunch in credit. And so people are rightly panicking because of that, because it's so forefront in our minds of what happened and how bad it could get. People were losing their jobs, companies were going out of business, it was bad. However, we have to look at history as perspective. And thankfully, we have a long history of stock market details to look at. So how long do bear markets usually last? Well, looking at all of those bear markets that I mentioned before, the 12 that we have seen since 1945, the average that the bear market has lasted is 14 months. So since World War II, bear markets have lasted an average of 14 months. The S&P 500 index has fallen an average of 33% during those market crashes, and the biggest decline of all of those since 1945 was the one that we saw in 2007 to 2009. And that's the reason why people are so scared. But they don't need to be. And the reason they don't need to be is because every single one of those bear markets has returned to a bull market. And when it got back to bull market, it went way beyond where it started. The other thing to keep in mind is that if we look back at history, the faster that the index hits that bear market, the shorter those bear markets tend to be. The reason for that is because the faster we get there, the more panicking people are doing. The more people panic, the faster that stock market drops. And as soon as things start to turn around, they realize, oh, I was just being crazy. I should put money back in the stock market. And as soon as everybody starts thinking that, well, it shoots right back up again. So you can't let your emotions control how you invest. If you do that, you're going to lose money. Every person who kept their money in after the first drop of the Great Recession has made ridiculous amounts of money since then. Anyone who held their money in the stock market from October of 2007 and did not sell during that downturn has a whole lot more money today. Historically, it has taken stocks 270 days to hit a bear market, and we did it in under 30. When the S&P 500 drops 20% at a quick pace like it has right now, the index has averaged a loss of about 26%. Now, today we hit 26%. So I'm not here to tell you that today is going to be the bottom. It probably isn't. People are still absolutely losing their minds out there. You heard from me what I dealt with just trying to get some toilet paper at the store. So I can honestly tell you that this is probably going to go down. But, and here's the big but, it's not a reason to sell. And it certainly isn't a reason to not put money in. If you can afford to do so, you should be investing right now. And the reason for that is while everybody's panicking, that's when you should be greedy. So what does it look like when a bear market ends? Generally, people look for about a 20% gain from a low point and sustained gains over about 6 months. If you're not seeing continual gains over 6 months and you haven't seen a 20% increase since the last low, then you're probably still in that bear market. But again, it can turn as quickly as it did. Like, one day we were perfectly fine. The next day we were down 2,000 points. And then we were up 1,000 points. Then we were down 2,000 points again. It is so volatile right now that, quite frankly, Bitcoin looks less volatile right now. And that's insane. This time is never going to be different because it's always about the human beings behind the decision making. People panic. They make decisions based on emotions. And when they're panicking, they sell. When they stop panicking, they're going to start buying again. And that's just the way that human emotion works, period. The shortest bear market that the S&P 500 has seen was in 1990. It lasted about 3 months, and the stock slid about 20% during that period. We've seen more than that in the last 23 days. And so I can tell you right now that we are not in for a short bear market. This is going to continue to drop. But you have to have the perseverance to continue on, to not make decisions based on panic. If you do that, you're going to lose money. And so right now, what have I done? I put another $1,000 into my Roth IRA. And in addition to that, I'm continuing to contribute 15% to my 401k. And I will probably continue to put money into my Roth IRA until I hit my cap for the year, which right now the cap is $6,000. I don't see any reason to change my pattern. The more that I put money in now, the more that money is going to grow when people stop losing their minds. When people start to buy back in, you've missed your chance. It's too late. So at this point, you're better off continuing a steady pace of investing. And if you aren't investing yet, now's the time to start. Because people who invested at the bottom of the recession, they made a lot of money. The stock market dropped to something like 6,000 points at one point during the 2007 to 2009 mark. And it hit its high on February 18th of this year at 29,551. So if you put money in at that point, you had almost quadrupled your money as of February 18th, before all of this nutty stuff happened. So keep calm. Carry on. It's pretty sure that's a British thing, but it's worth doing because, one, it's going to kill you to live panic to panic. Anxiety is not something you want to live with. It's not worth it, to be honest, especially considering all of this is in your head. All of this is in your head. It's not worth panicking over. It's not worth stopping your life completely over, and it certainly isn't worthy of some of the stuff that I've seen on YouTube to just in the last week or so. People punching old ladies over toilet paper, people knocking people over to get to the last of the paper towels, or people getting run over by carts to get water. It's insane. So stay safe, follow the CDC guidelines, and for God's sakes, don't panic. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.